What is up, everybody? I'm Sonny Las Vegas. I have somebody who I've been getting to know a lot over the years, especially when I was out in Hawaii, Waipahu, right? Wait, Wahiwa.
Oh, yes,
When I
sir.
was out in Wahiwa, I was all over the place in Oahu. But when I started out with the clothing line, and this is years back, right? I'm a full time reseller now, but a lot of the stuff that I do, like I find it familiar with other things that I've either done or want to do. So I'm introducing people like my friend here, Dominic, who when I first came across him online, he was working building a clothing brand out of a storage unit. And from those years, which feels like not too long ago and it's passed by fast, you are in a whole nother level than storage units. And
Yeah.
that's something I want to introduce you to other people as well. It's introduce yourself, and then we'll start throwing some questions in and let people get to know more about you. And if they have questions towards what it is that you're doing and have done.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so my name is Dominic. So my clothing brand I originally started back in 2012, as Sunny said, out of a storage unit. Um, it was called DRE Empire HNLAX, and now present now is 2022. I own a barbershop in Salon, and we do have some clothing in the front, still like a little boutique area, and it is called HNLAX by DRE Empire. So I just kind of flipped the name around, but it all roots back to clothing. That was actually my first passion, with street designing, streetwear, and stuff like that.
Oh, that's my phone. I'm popular right now. Give me a second,
Uh,
folks. My wife always at this time lets me know when she gets to work, so that way I don't have to worry about her. But he put that on mute. So Dominic, when you started in a storage unit out in Hawaii, that probably had to have been the best place to start at, especially the Hawaii weather, unless the trade wind stopped. But when you
uh-huh.
first started, and you're from California originally, right?
Yeah. So I was born in Hawaii. 2 weeks later, I went to California,
Oh,
to
they're like, you're
to
not
LA.
good
Yeah.
enough. You got
So
to get your ass over there.
Yeah. So yeah, like take your ass back. But yeah, so that's what people trip out when they find out I actually was born here. I was like, yeah, I was here for 2 weeks and then I was out. Um, but yeah, no, the storage unit thing, it actually, how I started in a storage unit, I didn't even know about, starting a business out of a storage unit. But in college, I was a bartender, and one of my customers, his name was Miles. He would always drink a Miller Lite, like every Thursday, he would be in the
Oh, that
bar.
that top tier shelf stuff right there.
Uh-huh, right. Right. So Miles, actually, I was talking to Miles and I was telling him, I was still in college and I was talking to him and I'm like, yeah, I want to start a clothing company. I want to buy the screen printing press and all of this stuff, but I just don't have a place to put it. I don't need a retail, store frontage if I'm just going to be producing and selling online. And he told me, he was like, why don't you check out a storage unit down the street? Um, One of his customers, I believe, had a business out of there, and he was telling me about it. I'm like, I had no idea you could do something like that.
Yeah.
So I actually went to the local storage unit place down over here, and I went to a few of them actually, and a lot of them didn't have one with the roll up door. They were like the ones you got to go in the elevator and go up and all
Mm.
this stuff. And I kind of needed something ground level with the roll up door because the machine that I was getting shipped in, was it's not too big, but it can't fit through a standard door,
Yeah.
And I was like, I need something I can just roll it in. And so right here, in Mililani, they had a storage unit open, and the rent was cheap back then. I believe it was 757, something like that. I was paying for the storage unit.
Seven
It
hundred
had
and $57.
Yeah, $757 was my rent. And a good thing with, storage unit, you don't have, it's not like a lease or anything, right? So I was like, oh, I can do it for about 6 months, 7 months. And they're like, oh yeah, well, you can go month to month. And it had running electricity, but it didn't have no water. And so I was running the water line from the little faucet out there. I had a thing and I put a hose all the way in,
To wash the
clean
screens
screen.
and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, to do all of that, but at least I had electricity and I was pretty much free to go in any hours, of the night. We had the codes to get into the, to the little place. Um, So, and I really didn't know much about screen printing either. I kind of learned as I went.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, the storage unit thing, I guess I've seen more and more businesses, in these type of things,
Mm.
in the
Here
storage unit.
too.
And it's such a great start because you don't really have no really commitment, and it's a good trial. You can really kind
Yeah.
of see if it's something that you really want to do. So, yeah, I recommend anybody that's trying to, start a little business and don't want to spend, retail money, because once you go on the storefront, any display by the road, you're up already over $2,000,
Yeah.
So that was
So when
kind
you
of
when
the,
you I remember I don't know if you still talk to him. I haven't seen like anything of him, but my first photo I came across you on Instagram was with the hype man, and
uh-huh,
he was like leaning on one of the doors, like sticking out, and I'm like, what is this? Like, what is this? Like, what is he advertising? And
uh-huh,
then
uh-huh.
I was seeing other photos, and you've always been one kind of like myself, where it's never been about you. You share other people, with your business, and sometimes it's like you're the guy that's on the side too. And
Yeah.
if I was just didn't know you like the way I do, and
Uh-huh,
seen your photos, I'd be like, this guy's not approachable. Like he's in another lifestyle, like this really good lifestyle, like, man,
uh-huh.
I want to chill out with that dude. But
Yeah.
it's so easy to talk to you. And I think people see like photos like, oh, that dude's a badass. He's a
Yeah.
gangster. And you're like, I'm chill.
Uh-huh.
Come talk to me. Let's have a
Yeah,
drink.
no, it's crazy. It is crazy. And even till this day, so that's funny because a lot of people, I'm like, am I intimidating? Am I this? And I that? They're like, hell yeah, I don't want to approach you. Like, I'm scared. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, what is it? Um, but that's funny you say that because now when I hire barbers and stuff like that for my shop, it's like, oh, I'm hiring, pull up. Like, I'm not scared. I'm not mean or anything like that. And that's the first thing they think of. They say
Yeah.
I'm very intimidating, but I actually kind of like
Look
that,
intimidating. Yeah.
yeah, I kind of like that nowadays, you know what I mean? Because it's like when they come to apply at my shop, it's like, we're not here to fuck around, like I feel
Yeah.
like they're them coming in through that door and asking for an application. I know that they made up their mind that this is the place that they want to be at and they're not afraid, you know? And so I kind of like, I really like that, but it's funny because I'm always more of the behind the scene person. I don't
Sure.
really like the attention, but people like, oh, you're always in da, da,
Puppet
da, da,
master.
love attention. And I'm like, no, like I'm a really cool, calm, collective, shy person, but people
Yeah.
think I'm just some crazy, like, and it's like, I'm not, like, if you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I am, but it depends how much tequila I have, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
I remember
for the
those
most
days.
part,
You're always having a bottle like straight to the head, taking photos, and when
oh,
you're going
yeah,
out, and I'm like, damn, I need to party
nuts.
with this guy, and I never had the chance. I was broke as shit back in Hawaii. Now, not so much.
Yeah, no, it's crazy. I mean, I could drink a bottle like throughout the day, and it's just people are like, how do you do that? Like, you're functional. And I'm like, I don't
Yeah,
even
today
know.
I'm
Like, I don't,
functional.
like,
Tomorrow's a different story.
yeah, it's crazy. Now I can't do hangovers. Like, it's
Yeah.
crazy. Like, it's nuts. But I've always been, I guess you could say more of the behind the scenes. I like
Mm.
to be the creator and I like to put everything together. And I'm like, I don't really need the credit. Like, they're gonna know who directed this or who did
I
that.
want
Like,
to
I
talk more
really,
about that too because I'm going to catch up the crowd who's in here right now, but I do want to say hello.
uh,
Everybody who's coming in every Thursday, I have these Thirsty Thursdays as much as possible, unless I'm on vacation or priority comes up with family or something. But I try to do this to showcase people with how relevant some of the things we do as resellers, that you don't have to just be a reseller and flip what it is that you do on eBay or the reselling sites, that there's other things that are still the same process. If you want to do things, people have been asking me about how do I design t-shirts and different things like that. And Dominic has done more of it than myself, even though I've been in the field for, I think, end of 2011 was when I started my clothing brand. But let me say hello because I'm going to catch you up with the storage unit to where he went to and then where he's at now, and who knows what else he got next. So I do want to say hello
mhm.
to Ella, being the first one that was in here. Save here first. Thank you for coming in. I appreciate everybody for showing up, and also just getting to see who it is that I've been following and things. What we could do as well, if you're interested, that you may have thought about and didn't have answers and things like that towards your own personal goals, even if it's not to start a business, but something you're interested in doing for yourself and family. Like I'll get more into it because there's a lot of information about t-shirts, apparel, and business. But this must be one of your peeps right here.
Yes, Michaela, what's up? She actually owns a beauty spa. She's an
Oh, nice,
esthetician. Yeah.
nice. Thanks for coming in. Very much appreciated. Mahalo. Who else we got? Hustle man, hustle man, hustle man. Always showing love. And Lauren, I didn't get any good drinks today. I have my margarita mix. It wouldn't be Thirsty Thursdays without me drinking something. I went to the gym and then hustled home and then started getting ready to eat with my wife some chicken katsu that my mother-in-law made. Cali Reseller Lewis, I think you're on your sixth podcast now. I was listening to it when I was cooling down at the gym. Uh, I enjoy what you're doing, man. It's something I'm interested in doing as well with the podcast and things like that. Annie, ¿cómo estás, Annie? Thanks for coming in. Appreciate you very much. Always again showing love. Sunny third hug and one day. Yeah, we get around. So with that down, like with the reselling community and entrepreneurs and people that I like we follow pretty much each other hard. And it's funny how people of similar interests end up in the same places, even though they're on different YouTube accounts or on social media. Like I like to see that people are collecting together because people don't realize how much things we have in common until you put yourself out there. Susan, thanks for coming in. Susanna. Eh. Lauren always gets mad at me with my lame ass drinks, but it is what it is. I was in a rush, and fitness has been one thing. So Dom
Yeah.
started when I found out about him, came across him in a storage unit, right? And
Yes.
then a few months later, I don't know how long he was there in the storage unit pushing shirts, his clothing brand, and then I got to meet Dominic when he went to Wahi when he had a storefront. From that storefront, he had his clothing line, and he also printed it himself there with his cousin Jordan. And every once in a while, friends would come in and partake in this stuff as well. How
Yes,
was that
yes.
storefront when you went from storage unit to storefront?
Right. It was scary because I was actually only in that storage unit for like 7 months, 7, 8 months.
Was it that
And
it? The
yeah, it
storage
was
unit? That's
quick. The
good. That's
storage unit, yeah, it was quick. The storage unit was about, yeah, 7, 8 months. I think 9 at the most. And it was, trying to look for a storefront was hard because, like I said, I didn't have the money at all. I was like a broke college student, you know what I mean? But I was a bartender, so I tell people I was never broke, you know what I mean? But I've had less, I've always
yeah.
hustled. So it was it was crazy, transitioning because it was like I was having people, come to the storage unit to buy t-shirts and stuff out of there. And for me, I didn't really like mind, but I was like, dang, if I really want to hit like a different demographic of clientele, like bringing them into a storage unit may not be the best look for me, but it's what I could afford at the time. So it kind of just grew, and Instagram kind of just started going, and that's when I was like directing a lot of photos and stuff like that for my brand, working with different type of people, and so it just kind of grew and grew. And I was like, you
Yeah,
know
that,
what,
that
maybe
was
it's a
fun
time.
taking photos for you that one time.
Yeah,
That
you know
was
what? Yeah, that was actually like one of the latest photo shoots we've done, and that's actually what got Jordan into photography that time. That shoot we
yeah.
did um, with the car and everything and guns and shit. Like, yeah, that one was dope. So, yeah, like doing photos like that really kind of like I guess set the tone for their brand. And a lot of people were just trying to sell shirts, but I was trying to sell the whole look. I wanted them to
Mhm.
see the whole thing, or how we wear it, or when we would wear this type of clothing and stuff like that. But back to going from storage unit to retail, it was a lot. It was a big jump, but the rent wasn't that bad. It was the rent in Wahoo from that storage unit to the Wahoo spot was only like $150 more.
Damn, I
It
should have
was like,
rented that place just to live in.
look, I know. Hey, the lady upstairs was doing that. I don't
Oh,
know if you
that's right.
remember
I
her.
remember that. That older
Yeah.
lady, that was
Uh-huh.
sketchy as shit, especially with that liquor store right next to you, which
This,
was
yeah.
convenient for energy drinks and shit. But
Uh-huh.
oh man, I remember now. I forgot about
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, we had a big old beef for her and shit like that. But yeah, she was living up there. So yeah, I was paying eight something, and it was $150 is a lot more. When I said like I didn't have much, I was bartending like 5 nights a week and going to school, 5 nights, 5 days a week. So I was like, damn, can I really afford the $150 more? And I was like, yeah, I was like, you know what, like I'm just gonna have to, work a double one day, to come up with this extra $150 a month for the storefront. And it actually worked out great because we had pretty good people passing by, as far as coming and checking out the brand, and that's when a lot of the custom work for other people came into play.
Mm.
You know, they were like, "Oh, you print T-shirts," and I was like, "Yeah, like for myself, for my brand." Like, and then they started, "Oh, I'll pay you," and I was like, "Really?" And I was like, "I didn't really think, to print for other people. It was
Yeah.
more just for myself, And they're offering money, and I was just like, all right, I guess, I didn't even know what to charge them at the time. I didn't do no research and development at all. I just was like, I want to do this, and I'm gonna figure it out as I go, and that's what I pretty much do with everything. Now
Yeah.
I
I
do a
mean,
little
you
bit more
do when
research and
it's new.
develop. Yeah,
You're like, if you screw up when you're not getting the profit out of it, and you're like, oh, I got to change something.
see something.
You know.
Yeah. But I'm like burying myself, like, oh shit, I better figure it out now. You know what I mean? So,
What's up,
yeah,
Doc?
that
Diego?
was that
What's
was
up,
one of
AR?
those
Thanks for joining.
things.
So
That
when
was
you
one of
went
those.
from $750 that you had to pay for storage,
Uh-huh.
if you don't mind me asking, how much were you making to where you're like, I need to scale up to that storefront, even though it's 150 more, but that's money
Uh-huh.
out of your pocket
Okay.
to where you
Yeah.
have to have that profit. Like, this is worth doing.
Yeah, and you know what? So it's crazy. At that storage unit, I honestly probably didn't make any money. I probably only made enough to pay the rent, and it was, how do you say, like, and to buy more shirts, blank ones to print on.
Mm.
So me jumping from there to there was like
The
stupid ass
same,
fool.
just
You know what
bigger
I mean?
space,
Yeah, it was like, why would you do that? But
a
it's
better
like,
look.
yeah, it looks better. It looks better. It's gonna
Okay.
attract different people, and so I was just basically making enough money to pay the rent, and buy some more T-shirts and pay for my, my car. You know what I mean? My cell phone bill, my college tuition. You know what I mean?
What's up,
So,
Doyle?
it was very,
So
like the
you're
first years
pretty
I
much,
didn't make any money.
but you were making enough consistently to know that you could pay it and
Correct. Yeah, and
just
I
go
was
from
still
there.
bartending at the time. I was still bartending too
Okay.
at night. So that
I think when I
was,
met
yeah.
you, because that I don't remember you talking about bartending. So when you went
Yeah.
to the storefront, you kind of stopped bartending
Yeah. So how I
when you
start
started
when I
printing shirts.
yeah, so when I this is what happened. So how I stopped bartending was I had the storefront in Waihua, and I was still bartending on the weekends. And it was, what up, Tiff Nag? So after bartending, so what happened was I had my dad stay at my shop one day, because the shop was kind of getting busy, but I couldn't
Mm.
afford to pay like a shop girl or anybody to stay at the front door. You know what I mean? I was like, I didn't have any money to be
I
paying
would have been
people.
dirt cheap, man. I was fiending for money.
Oh yeah,
I was
shit,
on
yo,
the high
find out.
street too by Walgreens. It was
But
ghetto as shit.
yeah, I
Yeah, I
remember
was
that. I
sketch.
remember that.
I'll just
So
walk. I almost got hit one time walking over to your place. Like,
uh-huh,
everybody stopped at the light there by McDonald's. Everybody
uh-huh,
stopped. There's like 3 lanes, I think, and there was one empty lane, and
uh-huh,
it was green for me to walk across. So I'm walking, and good thing I like pulled my headphone off or something, and all of
uh-huh.
a sudden I just hear whoom, like the
Oh
car just
shit, you
like
felt
went by. I look across, and everybody just looking like, oh man, I ran
uh,
across, like, I almost got stomped. I would have been like Frogger. I would have been
uh-huh.
power ready. I would have been
Oh
gone.
yeah.
The
But
the thing is
yeah.
with Dominic people, where he is talking now, we're just storefront where he's at, and he's saying he just started his clothing line. He went from a storage unit to a storefront, and he's figuring it out. Just about 2 blocks facing the road to the left of us was another
Mhm.
printing shop. And
Yeah.
I remember people coming in when I was there, and they're like, "Hey, can you do my t-shirts?" Because they didn't like the lady. Like, she took
Yeah.
forever or something. I don't know what really happened, but
Always
they would
missing
complain.
orders. Yeah.
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 And people were coming to you, and you're just right there. And I was like, that's freaking awesome, Like,
Yeah.
there's an
And
option
I
and that there's business.
Yeah, and what I would do, I'll price match them. You know what I mean? I would tell them, bring me an invoice, of what she's trying to charge
Smart.
you, and I'll beat them, even if it's by 50 cents. But you times that by 30, 40 shirts, I just save them,
Yeah.
maybe like 60, $70. And the bigger ones, I'm like, as long as it says, this business name, and I know, you know what I mean? She's no longer there. I think she moved, whatever. But I was like, I'll price match her, and so they were like, really? I was like, shit, yeah. I mean, like, I'm gonna
Why not?
lose 60, 80, $100, but I got work. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'll take it. So yeah, I was doing that. I
Yeah.
was
I,
just
I
trying to get
remember
anything.
I remember after a while you had a clipboard It might have been Jordan or one of the other guys, but they had a clipboard and you had like your pricing down. So when people walked in, it was like here,
So
because a lot of
yeah,
people were like, "Hey, I got to come in and go," you know. And people are like that at times. Not
yeah,
everybody has a lot time to just sit there and ask questions.
yeah,
They're like, "Just give me something and I'll run with it and come back
yeah.
later if I
Later,
do, if I don't."
yeah.
And I was like, "That's pretty clever."
Yeah. Because I mean, like I said, I couldn't afford to really like pay. You know what I mean? People saw to have Jordan come in there, throw him some money, you know, and then let's route back to how I stopped bartending because people, this story is crazy, and I actually just bartended like about a week and a half ago, just for shits and giggles. Like, let me see if I still got it,
Get
and
the
I
rust
actually
off.
did
Yeah,
it.
nice.
Yeah, I still did it, and I was like, yo, this is so much fun. Like, I haven't done it in so long, but so one day I had my
So you
dad.
might open your bar one day.
I really want to. Honestly, I want to open a day club. I really, really do.
I
But
knew
I
it.
don't
I
know. I
knew
may
those
drink.
boards would do that.
I'm gonna drink all the profit. I don't know. It may not be profitable for me. But so back to that. I had my dad. I asked my dad, "Hey, can you stay at the shop? Just for like 2 or 3 hours. I gotta go to work." But it's been busy with walk-ins. People buying shirts, and somebody coming in and spending $20, $30 was a lot to me because I was like, that's $30 less that I got to make tonight. You know what I mean? Or $40 less I got to do. So even if I would sell $60, $80 worth of clothing, I'm like, ooh, that saves me like 4 hours at the
Yeah.
club, you know what I mean? Or something. So I, I basically asked my dad to stay there. Some guy came in. His name was Jesse. I'll tell you the story about him later. So he came in and he's like, "Hey, how much if I buy all this clothes off of these racks?" And my dad's like, "Oh, this is my son's store. I don't know anything about it. I don't know his pricing really. Here's the clipboard. Here's this." And this guy was like, "Well, who can I talk to?" He's like, "Oh, my son, but he's at work." And my dad's like, "Let me get your number and I'll link. I'll have him give you a call." And so my dad calls me like, "Dominic, this guy came in here and wants to buy all the shirts off of your shelf, your whole thing." And I'm like, he's bullshitting. I'm like, this fool, he's bullshitting. Like, nobody's gonna come and cash out like that, right?
Yeah.
And he was like, "Dominic, I think he's serious." And I was like, all right. So I call him. I call him on my break at work, and he's like, "Yeah, I'll be there tomorrow after picking my daughter from work. Not work, from school. Da, 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 da. The little high school is right up the road.
Mhm.
So I was like, okay, this story is kind of adding up. Like, it's kind of sounding like it's gonna happen. And he doesn't show up. And I was like, damn, this fool, like I could have been at work like
Same.
that day, whatever. He didn't come. 3 days later, I'm there at the shop. He pulls up. He's like, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry. Something happened. Da, 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 da. How much for all these shirts on the shelf?" And I was like, "Okay, well, if you want to buy it wholesale, basically you're gonna buy it wholesale, right?" I was like, $900, $950 for what I had. I didn't have much out there, but I had a pretty good inventory.
Yeah.
I said $950. And he's like, "All right, I got you." And I was like, "Huh?" And $950, mind you, I'm paying $800 for my storage, for my storefront, 800 something dollars. So $950, you just pay my rent, you know. So I was like, that's when I knew I gotta stop bartending. I was like, if I had not had my dad stay in that shop that day, this guy, I don't feel like this guy would have came. He would have had nobody to talk to. The store would have been closed. I may have lost out, right? So that's when I knew. I was like, you know what? I got about $600. Now I got $900 extra. You know what I mean? I got this money. I don't have a
Shmoney.
savings. I don't have a real savings. My savings is gone. I spent it all on my equipment. That was over $14,000, $15,000 on equipment. So I barely had a deposit, to get that place. I barely had that. And I was still bartending everything and doing all that. And so when he came in, 2 days later, he came with the money. He's like, "Here you go." And I was like, "Well, what are you gonna do with this clothing?" Because
I
now
was
I'm
gonna ask
curious.
you.
Like, yeah, like what are you gonna do with it? Why are you buying all my clothes? Like, what are you doing with it? And he's like, "Oh, I got a kiosk over here on Schofield, and I'm gonna resell it." And I'm like, "Huh?" I was like, I'm like,
He's gonna
"You
flip
can't."
your
Like,
stuff.
yeah, he was gonna flip my shit. And I'm like, "Huh?" And I'm like, he's like, "Yeah." And I was like, 'cause I sold it to him. Like, I didn't, the shirts are about 25, 25 each, right? So I sold it to him wholesale about like 13, I think 13 or
Mhm.
$14. So he still made a profit, he's gonna profit.
Yeah, because
And
you're printing it yourself and
so,
everything, so you're not
yeah,
paying somebody else and getting a loss, except
lost,
for
yeah,
a little bit of paint and the t-shirts,
yeah.
and the more you buy, the less they are. So
Yeah, yeah. So I was like, this fucking smart fool. Like, he is so smart. He was named Jesse. a Mexican dude from Chicago. You know, so he was a hustler. He was just trying to make money. He was in the military, but he was
Is
hustling.
that
You
the
know, trying to.
Jesse that the little Hispanic guy?
Yes, yes, yes,
I don't
yes.
want to. Yeah, not good vibes with that guy.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah. But him.
left me
So
hanging one time.
yeah, but he was scatterbrained. He was all over the place. This dude
Yeah, he
was
is.
he's dabbling in all kinds of
I
shit, and
thought
you
I
know what
got
I mean.
issues, but he
So
got issues. He got demons.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It was wild. It was wild. So he did that, and I was like, that's when I knew, like, all right, this is my time. I gotta stop. I gotta stop bartending. You know what I mean? I gotta stop doing all that stuff. Um, I need to focus on my brand. You know, I need to focus on my business and all that. And so that's what I did. That's when I stopped bartending, and I haven't looked back since. And um, yeah, I haven't worked a job since then. You know, like I haven't worked for
Well,
somebody since then.
what's pretty cool about Dominic too, it's like you think, oh, he went from storage unit, he has a clothing brand, he's working his way up towards a store in a pretty good amount of time. But at the same time, the storefront, right? He started bringing in artists and people, and I'm like, how is he pulling these people? Even to this day, I'm like, how did he get Remy Ma there? How did he get
Uh-huh,
the real Rick Ross there? I believe is the real Rick Ross and other
uh-huh,
people in his and
yeah,
there's other artists, and then he started having events to like runways there in town, and I was like,
yeah,
this guy is like doing the damn thing. And at the
yeah,
same time, like it was cool meeting your family, your mom, your dad, and
uh-huh,
Dominic's mom was the first one to notice like this face that I'm using. I've had
hmm,
since Hawaii, and his mom was the first one within seconds of just walking by me. She was like, "Hey, that's Elroy from the Jetsons," and I'm like, "Man, she has a good eye. Cool as hell." His
yeah,
mom's the best.
yeah, yeah.
Really supportive
So
family.
yeah, so yeah, how I got is just crazy. So Instagram, that's when Instagram kind of started kicking off, you know. So I would have Honey Cocaine, Don Benjamin, like
That's who
all
it
these
was. Honey
people.
cocaine. Yeah, the first
Yeah,
one that I know of.
and I had all these people, and they're like, "How do you know these people?" And I'm like, Instagram, like, slid in my DM, "Hey, I'm out here in Hawaii. What's the move? Where's the party?" Da, da, da. I'm like, "How do you know about me?" Like, you know what I mean? But Instagram, you know, and I just, I guess they see my Instagram, or they just, people know people, and they know me. When you go to Hawaii, call Dom. Here's his link, you know. So I would just start doing that, and I would have, you know, different people wearing my stuff. And I don't know if you remember. I don't know if back then. Remember, Karma Loop was a big thing.
Yeah, Karma Loop was a big
Karma
thing.
Loop. Yeah.
They're
So
pretty much the consignment online store before consignments. Like they're
yeah,
huge.
yeah. Karma Loop was doing crazy stuff, and I was like, damn, if I could just have one celebrity wear my stuff, I'm gonna make it. Like, you know, I was thinking in my mind, like, oh, I'm gonna get somebody to wear it. And it just started happening. You know, it was just in my DM. You know what I mean? I don't even think they had DM back then. I think it was on a picture. I don't even think they had DM
Yeah,
back on Instagram back then. You
yeah,
know, but
straight message.
yeah. So they were talking like that, and then had them come to the store. And mind you, it was why it was the hood. You know what I mean? And like it
Yeah,
looked good on it. It looked good on Instagram, but
it
you
looks
go
good
open
during
that
the
door.
day, but
Yeah.
where I lived, ladies and gents, where I lived in Wahiwa was High Street, and that's not one of the good places. There's bad places in Hawaii, but where I was at the first night was horrible, and every other night I
Yes.
couldn't wait to move out of there. The only reason I was there is because places like anywhere you go to, they're strict on animals, and we had a dog at the time, Ninja, and we're like, we're not gonna get rid of him. We love him, you know. And
Yeah.
now thinking about it, it's like I should have threw that dog out the window and let him go
No.
wherever. Like
Yeah.
survival of the fittest, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. No,
So
for real. For
what were
real.
the names? I Honey Cocaine was the first one, and then you had
Yeah.
other ones along the way.
Yeah. So I had Honey Cocaine. I had Don Benjamin. He was on America's Next Top Model. I have to look through my photos, but I've worked with like Mike Jones. I don't know, you remember
I
back
remember
then,
Mike
you know,
Jones.
yeah, Mike
He actually
Jones.
performed at the runway show. I think maybe your second or third one that you had.
Yeah, I had him. Who else did I work with? I have to look through my phone. I have all my old flyers. Like
Yeah.
I'm gonna next time I have a like a board, and I have all the flyers, all the clubs I hosted, all the people wearing my stuff, all the artists I've worked with, and all that. And actually, around that time, we've actually worked with Cardi B, and this was before Bodak Yellow. She
Yeah.
was just like the shipper on Instagram making funny videos. This was right when she got onto Love and Hip Hop. So this was before she was Cardi B. One
Yeah.
of my friends was a DJ at the club,
Money.
and he was saying his actual name is DJ Mitch. Shout out, is it DJ? No, DJ. Not DJ Mills. DJ Mills. He's fire ass DJ. So DJ Mills was like, hey, we're doing a Cardi B event. She's gonna be at the club. We need somebody to take her photos and help direct and do all this stuff. And I'm like, you can do it. And I'm like, yeah, like, and I was like, I know who Cardi B is. I knew who Cardi B was, you know what I mean, from Instagram and like Love and Hip Hop. You know, she was
Yeah.
trending, always talking crazy and stuff like that. So I knew. Did I say TikTok? No, not TikTok. Fucking Love and Hip Hop and Instagram. So um, he was like, "Can you come out?" And I said, "For sure." I said, "I'll come out." And photography wise, they're like, "We need a photographer." And I was like, "Hey, my cousin Jordan, you know, my cousin Jordan. That's when he just started taking photos, you know.
Mm.
And his first big name that he shot was Cardi B. You think about it now, you're like, this fool. No, he didn't really know. He didn't know much about photography, but his first big name was Cardi B. And people trip out. They're like, "How did you get her? How did you do that?" I was like, "They call me. Like, you know, the homie was a
Yeah,
DJ at the club and
that's how
said,
good you are. They seek
yeah,
you.
yeah." I was like, I don't know. Like, my homie was a DJ at the club and he needed a photographer and somebody help direct and stuff. And he called me and I did it for free. I didn't care. I didn't want to get paid, you know. And that's the thing with me. I do everything when I work with people back then. I do everything for free. I didn't care to get paid. You know what I mean? I was like, I still, you know, I'm making money on my shop. I'm not worried about it. Is I'm here for the experience, you know what I mean, and the exposure
Mm.
and the phone number. You know, like, I'm gonna get your number at
You're
the end of this night.
networking.
I'm gonna get your phone number and I'm gonna
I'm
lock
gonna
you in.
get
You
in your
know,
pants and we're gonna have a good
yeah,
time.
yeah, yeah, something like that. You know, so I would always,
Speaking of
you know,
free, I just seen Ramon on here. He just had a video too of Ukraine and the things that's going on. I was just asked the other day to create a graphic design, and this is where like graphic design since I started back in 2011 on my own from YouTube. Then I went to school for it out at LCC Leeward Community College. A lot of people called it last chance college, and I always
Mhm.
called it life changing college because
Yeah,
that's where I really thought I was a caveman. I thought I was just work with my hands, but I I got soft Burger King hands. I'm like, I can't do labor work my whole life.
uh-huh.
So I got into graphic designs. It's a lot easier, especially on my back. So
Yeah,
fast forward, I still use graphic designs for things like this. Philly Flipper, who's also from the Ukraine, he's out in Philadelphia. He asked me for graphic design, and he was like, "Can you do this?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'll do it." And then he didn't tell me why or anything. I just, yeah, I'm gonna do it. You know, it's a homie.
yeah,
So then he replied back saying, "Hey, thanks. This is gonna be for to help the Ukraine out over there, raise some money for a campaign that he's pushing." And he was like, "How much?" And I'm like, "I'm not gonna charge you for something like that." And
yeah,
money isn't everything, you know. And networking is
yeah.
just one of those things. They're just being friendly. And I've learned, and I've come from hardships, like hard
Hmm.
hardships, where people say they come from the mean streets.
Yeah,
I come from where streets aren't even paved; it's like dirt
yeah.
roads. So
Hmm.
hard is hard for anybody who says they're living hard. I don't
Yeah,
compare, but
yeah.
I did that, and it's doing a lot. I think they raised $4,000, and he it was more than what he was expecting, and now they're trying to reach 10,000. But a little
Wow.
goes a long way when you're supporting others. And when
Yeah.
it comes to Dominic, he opened up with not just his brand, like people like myself. I'm getting to know him. He asked other brands like, let's have these events. Showed up, and I don't remember you charging anybody really like very much. And there in
Yeah, I probably
Hawaii,
like
like
50.
it's expensive,
Yeah,
and you're
probably
just
like
like,
$50, if anything, you
yeah,
know, just for the table. Like, it wasn't really, you know, I kind of, like you said, just wanted to network with everybody and meet different brands because you know, a lot of people would support my brand and I'll look at their stuff and I'm like, hey, it's cool. And, you know, in Hawaii, people, you know, nobody wants to be ever the first one to think something is cool. You know, they, so it's weird. They all think they're competition. You know, they all want to be like, oh, since you have a clothes streetwear brand, I don't want to work with this person. No, I don't want to. I'm like, for real? I'm like, why don't I just throw you guys all together and like make an event and make it crack? Like, why don't you guys never work with each other? Your clientele may attract their clientele and vice versa. You know, and that's till this day. That's the way I work. Like, you know what I mean? I go in with anybody. You know, and I'm not afraid. You know what I mean? I'm here to work. We're gonna make some money. You know, if we make some money, cool. If we don't, as long as I built a relationship, you know, and that's kind of
mm,
something that I've always, you know, like you said, I've always been that way. You know, and sometimes I'm like, I should be charging these people. I should do this, but I'm like, you know what? It's not even. If I can help somebody, you know, and that's all that really matters to me. You know.
yeah.
The money will come.
What's
I can
up?
go make some money. Like I got it. I'll figure it out.
Yeah. And you always have since I've known you. Aloha, Steve.
Mhm.
So Steve right here is actually out in Neva. So
Uh-huh.
Steve, Dominic here is out. At which mall is it? Is it Pearl Ridge Mall? It's not
Pearl
Pearl Ridge Mall.
Ridge.
Pearl
Yeah,
Ridge?
Pearl
Okay.
Ridge Mall. Yeah, uptown, the second floor next door to like the Ross, called the Ross side. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I when we went for our vacation over there, or actually our anniversary out in May, it was like
Mhm.
I didn't even think about you, man. I was like thinking about the food and thinking about like just
Oh, I
so-
know.
like I what one drink I wish they had here in Vegas that they don't have, but they have in Hawaii. It's the lava flows. Like it's such a
Uh-huh.
simple drink, but they're
Yeah.
so good. Just being on the beach, sipping on them, and
Yeah.
being an entrepreneur. Like I go to these places like the beach there in Waikiki, and you're
Mhm.
waiting in line, right? Everybody goes wait in line at these little bars, and I'm like, where's the waitresses at? So we get a
So,
waitress. They're
yeah.
like, oh, we don't serve you. We're only serving this section.
Yeah.
And immediately I'm like, I could volunteer and be like, hey, I'll work here for tips. To where
Yeah.
like, what do you want to drink? I'll go
Yeah.
wait in line and just
Yeah.
give a cut to the
Yeah.
bartender. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know why they don't
They-
have that, but that would be genius. Easy money, pocket
It's yeah.
money in your pocket every
And they,
day.
and people nowadays they don't want to work. That's the problem with them. They're just lazy. I'm like, come on. There's always money to be made. You could do it. Like I'm sure she could have took your order, went to the bar, put the tab down, give the bartender the $20, and boom, you probably would have broke her off $5 within like 40, like not even 30 seconds. But
Especially
yeah,
with tourists, you make several
yeah.
$100s. Yeah.
Hmm.
YNI isn't safe. The only time I went to
Yeah.
YNI was the last time. I ended up getting in a bad car wreck. I had a Mazda RX-8.
Oh shit.
I totaled it, and then I was on
Uh-huh.
foot for years, man. The insurance was trying to get me, like it was my fault. Somebody ran the red light,
Uh-huh.
and I ended up smashing into the guy in front of me who slammed his brakes. And ever since then, it
Oh.
was like insurance was like, no, it's your fault. And I'm like, how? Like I was sandwiched.
Mhm.
Somebody hit me, and after
Yeah.
2 years, they
Yeah.
finally cleared. And it was crazy because during that time, those 2 years, I was still making car payments and car insurance, and it was just like I don't even have the car. It's
At the
totaled.
car.
But
Wow.
because I was paying it off, and once they the that fight or whatever for it was like, actually, you're good. We
Mhm.
owe you. So I was like, man,
Uh,
I was struggling for money, man.
that's
I
when
was
you're
about to
on your
get back
bike,
in the
huh? You
foster
was on
meeting.
you was on the fixie, right? You had a little bike. I think I remember you had
Oh,
the bike.
so I found that fixie, but that was like towards the end before I left.
Oh,
I was
okay.
taking the bus for years, for several years, everywhere from Leeward Community College to
Uh-huh.
Wahiwa, back to like to town, because by that time I had that little store, and I can't even remember the town's name, but it was going
Kalihi, I
towards.
think it was, huh? In
I
Kalihi,
think so,
yeah.
yeah.
You were up
Yeah.
second floor. I remember your spot. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, we ended up having a little spot, and that was like probably like 4 foot by like maybe 13 feet. Like it was so narrow, but they were like,
Uh-huh.
hey, it's like $350. But my classmate was like, hey, I asked him, like, do you want to join? Because they didn't give me anything to say it
You
could only be
couldn't.
you. They didn't give
Yeah.
me any rules. And I was like, hey, Dane. And he was a graffiti art, or he is a graffiti artist, and he was also had his own machine. So I was like, hey, you want to go in on this? He was like, how much? And I'm like $175. He was like, done.
Yeah.
And we had the smallest
Easy.
spot, but we had more people
Just
coming into
jumping.
our little spot than the
Yeah.
bigger section. Like
Yeah,
it's crazy, you know.
I remember that because I remember I went to go check out your opening, right? And I walked through the store and I'm like, "Where's your section at?" Boom, I went in and I was like, "Holy shit, it's packed in here!" Like that, little, like you guys had it jumping
Because
for
there was only
sure.
two people, like two people packed, man.
Yeah,
Hey
but see,
Tracy, thanks for coming in.
yeah,
Shay,
that
thanks for
goes
coming
down
in.
to it. You know what I mean? People are gonna come. You know what I mean? You built that connection with people and your
Yeah.
clients and stuff like that. No matter where you're at, they're gonna pull up and they're gonna show
Hi
support and stuff
Regina.
like that.
Yeah,
That's definitely what I tell people. It's like it's the way you make the person feel, and stuff like that.
yeah,
You really gotta have to engage, and
yeah.
stuff like that. That goes with a lot of stuff though. But yeah, that's
I think
dope.
you attracted the people you did because you really are. That is your lifestyle. It's not something you're trying to make up on your end.
Yeah.
Like me, like I felt like I was like a urban warrior street style, but I'm not. I'm more like a character, easygoing,
Mhm.
more like Tokidoki, um, Sanrio. That's more of me.
Yeah.
I'm not like street, but I could throw my hands though. Like don't get
Yeah.
that
Yeah. Yeah.
twisted.
Uh-huh. Yeah. 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 Right. You gotta. Uh huh. No,
But
that's crazy. That's my style was very like streetwear because that's what I kind of grew up, wearing and stuff like that. And I'm very cool, calm and collected person. It's my brother that's the crazy one in high school, fucking up everybody and doing stupid shit, and I'm over there just like,
what's up, Brian?
and my brother was the wild one. You know what I mean? Like I'm the cool one. I was the chill one.
Yeah.
But
What's
I
up, promo?
lived, I've lived, in different parts, you know what I mean? I know the struggle, I know what the bottom feels like, I know what the dirt is, and so I feel like, yeah, I just kind of relate to my clients, you know what I mean? With the clothing brand, I just trying to, I want everybody to feel good when they're wearing it, and kind of a real
Mm.
story that I'm telling. I'm not just selling them a dream.
Yeah. It was just fun, like, when I came over here to Vegas, because I was still struggling. I was like, "What am I doing?" Like, trying to find a job, and then once we
Uh-huh.
moved into our apartment, our place got broken into, because
I
there's a
remember
gap where
that.
people ask, like, "Well, you're doing this, but, like, you're missing a part," and I didn't have nothing to talk about during the time I didn't have anything, because our
Uh-huh.
stuff got stolen, and, like, my photography gear, all my lenses, my computer, my iPad, like everything. And I had just had a gig. I had just ran into somebody, and they're like, "Hey, man," they were talking amongst each other in the store, and they're like, "Hey, I'm trying to find these photos, but there's nobody that could do it." So I was like, "Hey, like, I just heard you talking about this, and I just moved here, and this is what I do, and I don't have a printout bio, like I
Hmm.
forget what it's not
Like a
storyline. I
draft
forget.
book, like a
Yeah,
yeah, like a
something.
like a portfolio.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was like, I got my Instagram though, and he was just like, let me see.
Yeah.
So I showed him, and
Yeah.
he was just like, dude, that's what I want. How much do you charge?
Yeah.
And I was like, I'll give you 4 hours for $1,000. Like, and he was just
Mhm.
like, done. And I was like, shit, I priced it too low. And that was
No,
like the most I charged
yeah.
anybody.
Yeah.
That was the most
Yeah.
I charged anybody, and that was the day,
Uh-huh.
like, we moved here, and we didn't even unpack. It was, like, the evening, and then the following day, I'm telling my wife that night, like, "Hey, I just got a gig, like, I think this is legit. Like, good start, we just got here." And then
Yeah.
when we woke up the following morning, like, around 6 in the morning, we ended up going to Walmart down the road, and this is a luxury gated community, right? It's apartments, but it
Uh-huh.
was luxury gated. And we
Yeah.
get back, and the door was broken into, and all our stuff,
Shit.
was stolen. That helped me do the things
Right.
that I do with graphic designs and photography. So not until a few years later, that's when it was like I got into reselling, or about a year later, I got into reselling and got a job working at the Wynn Casino. So
Mhm.
I started looking at eBay at first, like, okay, let me make money. But then I started looking at, like, wait, I could make this money and buy back the stuff that I
Yeah.
lost. Now I have more of that stuff, and I don't use it. Like, I have a sewing machine. I had two, one 5 screen printing machine and one 4, but I ended up selling it because I knew, I was like,
Wow.
I'm not gonna mess with this no more. Like, let me
Yeah.
let me just sell it and do it easier on my end, because I don't want to do a clothing line, but I do want to brand myself. And there's a
Hmm.
big difference from, like, this shirt right here that I have on merch by Amazon
Hmm.
compared to screen printing. There is a bigger process. I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure this is more like a digital um
Is it
DTG, direct
DTG?
garment.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it's DTG. Way easier, but and the quality is really good. They've improved since I was out there in Hawaii compared to now, because they used to be crap. They look good, but they would fall
And
apart.
then part
Yeah.
DTG is actually one of those things. Yeah, it's came a long way. I was actually interested in buying a DTG machine once, and they're like 50,000. So I couldn't afford that shit. But a lot of them would just clog, and if you weren't printing on a white T-shirt, like a light color, it would be trash. But now they stepped it up a lot, DTGs. And before, actually, I know you're talking about retail. Before, a lot of retail stores never accepted DTG. They wanted it to be screen printed.
Hmm.
So when I was trying to get
Now
my
you
stuff
can't tell though.
in stores, yeah, now let's say yeah,
Yeah.
now you can do it. But when I was getting myself into stores, I was trying to get into stores. They were like, "Oh, it has to be screen print." I was like, "Oh yeah, I screen print myself." So it was one of those things that it had to be, and then I was like, I couldn't afford to pay DTG. I'm over here screen printing. You know what I mean?
Yeah. There, there's
Yeah.
there's a there's a little lag on my end. So when I posted this, like, your mouth was open. They got you on the
Oh
big
yeah.
screen.
Oh yeah,
Get
oh
your ass
yeah.
to
What's
the
up?
work.
What's up?
They're
There
probably like,
you
hey, that
go.
dude needs a haircut on the other side.
I know, I know. Well, we're actually, you know what? We're gonna go to LA. We're gonna be in LA probably on June 5th, I think is the show. But we may go to Vegas maybe for like 1 or 2 days. So we'll definitely I'll bring a barber to you. Mobile
No,
service,
I'm
VIP,
gonna let my
VIP
hair grow.
service. You letting it grow? Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
I
That
had it
makes sense. That
long
makes
when I
sense.
was there in down to my shoulders there in Hawaii. When I moved
Uh-huh.
here, I told myself like I'm never gonna cut my hair, and then it was like a July that it hit like 111. And I was like, oh hell no! Like I buzzed that shit off. I was like,
Uh-huh.
this is too hot, man. Vegas weather is like a furnace when it's
Yeah,
hot.
I can't do it. I can't live there.
What's up,
I don't
James?
know how you do it. But yeah, let
Um,
me shout out to my
I
squad right now. My HNLAX, if you guys are tuning
yeah,
in, go check
give a
them out
shout
at
out.
work. Yeah, go check them out. They hold it down. I have a really solid team, the one that's stick around, that's been there. So I appreciate them very much, And yeah, we have some stuff in the works that we can't disclose yet, but um, you'll see it in about, I'll say a week and a half. You'll see it on Instagram.
That's
Yeah,
soon.
you're gonna see.
So let me catch some of y'all up on what's going on because some people are coming in a little later from when we first started. So Dominic
Okay.
started in the storage unit, did pushing his clothing line, t-shirt brand. Then he ended up around 8 months later getting into a storefront where he
Mhm.
started not only pushing his clothing brand but also screen printing for other people. And then he started meeting artists along the way of different sorts, which matches his lifestyle,
Yeah.
which are some really good names. And then from there, he ended up, now you have the salon. And
Mhm.
what pushed you to go for it from clothing and then you're like a salon?
So yeah, so it goes back to the artist thing, and so basically, you know how it always, you shot one of my campaigns before my photos.
Yeah.
So I like to design the t-shirts, the merchandise, then get the models, and all these models, I have never paid a model ever to wear my stuff except maybe one person. But that was actually my homegirl, and I just show love. That's when I started to make a little bit of money, and I was like, okay, I can afford to pay you, $300 for this photo shoot. But she was published in like Maxim magazine and stuff like
Mm.
that. So that was future, like a while back. But so I would always hire get models, and I would have, hairstylists and stuff like that, get these models ready. And a lot of them were up and coming hairstylists, some of them not even licensed, you know what I mean? They were just styling the hair and putting their makeup on, and I'm
Mhm.
like, what if I open a barbershop and salon? Like, it goes with my lifestyle, everything goes back to my lifestyle.
It's
Um,
true to you. It's not that
yes,
you're like, I want this image. You just stick to yourself and
it's
that's what works out.
yeah, and then it says there's a saying that goes, I built my what is it? I built my business around my lifestyle, not my lifestyle around my business.
Ooh,
Because I
ooh,
used to, it's one of those things, I used to hit the club all the time. I was working in the clubs,
I
you know what I
remember that.
mean? So it's like I had to look the part, right? But I wasn't looking the part, I am the part.
Yeah.
So I was just hiring all these people, you know what I mean, to get these models ready and shoot the photos just for the
That's
campaign. And,
right,
and
Ray.
I was praying, hey, like if I can sell at least 20 shirts or 15 shirts out of this campaign photo shoot, like I just did, I won. You know what I mean? Like I did it, and I tell people if they don't like the merchandise, which the photo, like the clothing, they gotta like the model. They don't like the model, they're gonna like the photo itself, how it came out. They're gonna like something, you know what I mean? They have to like something about it. So that's how I got into the hair. Mind you, I don't know how to do hair at all. I've never cut my own, basically I never even cut my own hair. I think I did like once just to mess around. I've never touched a pair of clippers. I've never touched a pair of shears. But it's just something that I know what I want the hair to look like. When I was dressing these models and, directing, I knew what I wanted them to look like. I just physically didn't do it myself. I would tell the hairstylist, hey, can you make her hair like this? Can you do this? Yeah, I got it. Thank you. I want her makeup to look like this because I knew how I wanted the model to look like. I know what I wanted to see, basically, you know? And I was like, and I don't know, people would tell me after a while, they're like, wow, you have a lot of different diverse models, a lot of different girls, but they kind of have that little, like, that look, and I'm like, yeah,
That
like
edge.
yeah. And I would find these models on Instagram At LCC. We did like a casting
Mm.
call. Like we were just standing there, me and the hype man 808. Me and him were in the LCC.
Yeah,
He was wild with the girls. He was
he was
trying to get them in
crazy.
the
Then.
clubs all the time. And hey, bro, I got these 3 girls. They're gonna come meet us at the club. Let's get a bottle. Da, 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 da. Let's get. I'm just like this fool.
He
But
was a real hype man, though.
oh, he was all my shows. He emceed. You know what I mean? He got
He
the
did
crowd
pretty good. I
jumping.
was surprised the when I got to do the runway at your event, and I reached out to Instagram people too that were more fans than anything, and I
Uh-huh.
was like, "Hey, do you want to rock my shirt in this thing?" And I was like, "I can't pay you nothing, but I'll give you the
Yeah.
shirt you're wearing." And they're like, "Oh, I would have did it for free," and I'm like,
Yeah.
"Damn, like
Yeah.
cool."
Uh-huh.
I remember him getting hype man getting on the stage, and I'm like, "Oh, he's legit. Like, it's not
Shit.
like
Yeah.
speaking out of his ass. Like, he really owned
He
it.
does that
Like
shit.
it was
Yeah.
good." I was surprised because he plays
I
around a
named
lot.
him. Yeah, he's jokester. He's a jokester. He's a clown. Like
Yeah.
he's funny. Like he I named him. You know what I mean? I named him the high man. I'm telling him like, okay, put his shoes on, put this shirt on, put this hat, take that shit off, carry this bag. Like, you know what I mean? Like I kind of like put them together. I had him, I was like, hey, you gotta look like this. And yeah, he was great at what he did. But then, as the years went on, we did a few shows and everything, and he got kind of lost in the sauce for a little bit. He let the
Yeah.
lifestyle get him. Everybody falls into it sometimes.
Yeah.
You just have to be strong. And I tell people that life is it's a crazy life. It's a lot of fun, but you have to remember at the end of the day, you're there to make money, and have a good time. Not you don't do what they're doing. You know what I mean? You're in the club all night. You let them get fucked up. You make sure they spend their
Mm.
money. You make sure they have a good time. And you got to come out of work tomorrow, or you want to see them next week. You don't want to give them the whole show the first night. You want to
Yeah,
keep
you sound
coming.
like a
You know
pimp.
what I mean? Yeah, it's kind of like that. And that's basically, it's the game. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's the game. And that's the same thing that goes with hair. I tell the same thing. It's like you have to sell yourself. You got to put this in their head. And but yeah, he kind of got lost in the sauce for a little bit, so we had to part ways. I was like, dude, like I'm in this life too, but I'm not rocking with what you're rocking right now. I'm not doing
Yeah.
what you're doing. Like I'm here to make money.
Grounded.
You know what I mean? Yeah, I'm not here to party with these fuckers. Like I will here and there, but I got class tomorrow. You know what I mean? Or I got I
Yeah.
gotta I gotta open my shop. Like I got stuff to
Yeah.
do.
And then you
So
also, so when you went to school, I remember you talking about you went to for design, right? Like
yeah.
there's a name for
I,
it, but I forget what it is.
yeah, I was into fashion. I went to fashion school. I
Fashion,
went
yeah.
to fashion. Yeah. And that was cool. I learned a lot. I just really being in there was one of those things. I'm not really a great student either. I can barely spell, let alone read. But I was not the very best student. But I was going to fashion school. I did about 2 semesters, and everybody in there was just really. They thought they were somebody. And I don't like that. I don't like when people. I don't like when like people think they're better than somebody. Like really
Mm.
don't like that. And just the way they would carry themselves, they'd walk in thinking they're the shit, and I'm like, fool, like your mom's probably paying for your college tuition right now. Like nothing wrong with that. If your parents can afford it, cool. Like nothing
Yeah.
wrong with that. No shade, but don't come up in here, you know, talking like you're better than somebody when you're not. Like you're in the same classroom as me. Like, and I paid my tuition in ones and fives. You know what I mean? But it
Mhm.
was, and I was here to learn. And they all wanted to design for somebody. That was their goal. A lot of people in fashion school, they wanted to be like the next designer for Gucci or Louis Vuitton or something. I'm like, I want to design for me. Like
Yeah.
I don't want to design for somebody else. I want to be my own designer, and I want to do stuff, for my type of people. And so I just didn't really clash with that. And a lot of them, comes back to trying to sell. They were really great at designing. And I told them, what good is this design if you can't even sell it? Like, you don't even know what you're doing. Like, yeah, it's a beautiful garment. Fire, looks dope. Do you know how to take the photo? Do you know how to market? Do you know what kind of model you're going to put that on? Do you know who your customer is?
Mm.
And a lot of them didn't know anything. And I'm like, that's why you're going to work for somebody. That's why you are going to go design for somebody because you don't know what you're doing, you know? And
There are people like that that is not in their DNA. When I was working
yeah,
for the post office before that, like I never talked about like the clothing brand I had.
uh-huh,
I was more like I would show up at the post office early and I would scan in my packages, and employees that were there, they're like, whose packages are those? And I'm like, oh, these are
uh-huh,
mine. I'm not on the clock yet. I'm scanning in my orders from eBay. And
yeah,
they're more and more, they would ask, like, they're interested. I'm like, do you want to do something like this? They're like, oh no, I rather just work for somebody. And there's people
Yeah.
like that. Some people
Yeah, and
don't
that's
want to
fine.
be them, like work for themselves, and it's safe, and I get it. And I
Yeah.
was telling my wife about that. I could remember it clear as day. And I just
Mhm.
seen this guy the other day too. His name's Ray, Filipino guy, and he was like, "Hey, Sonny, welcome back." I was in line. He recognized me right away, and it's good to keep like stay good with good people
Yeah.
because it'll help you every once in a while. Like I don't have to wait months for a passport. He was like, "Hey, just walk in." Him and
Yeah.
another one, Jasmine, who was the one that I used to do passports too at the post office. I did a lot of shit,
Hmm.
and they're
Yeah.
just like, "Hey, if you need one, come over. You don't need to wait in line. Just walk up." And I'm just like, "Sweet,"
That's what's up. Yeah.
like. But I
It
I
goes back
remember
to like
him.
building relationships, and
Yeah,
engaging with the people that you talk to and stuff like that. You never
yeah,
know when you're gonna need them, or you may, like sometimes you got to be that person.
yeah.
That's what's up. Yeah,
Yeah,
but
I've
that
always
was
been
my
a
thing.
people person. My
Yeah.
wife isn't a people person. She's just like, why you like that? Why you talk to someone? I was like, they come to me
Oh.
half the time, and I'm just like, I'm not gonna be rude and turn away unless they're just weird. Then I'm like, all right, I gotta go. Sorry,
Well, yeah, that's me. I
might be
talk
a
to
murderer.
everybody. I just talk to anybody. I'm like, you never know, you know what I mean? But yeah, that was I'm a people person too, and I never was the actual people person. Like I said, I was very shy and very to myself. But when I started bartending, that's when I became woo, because I feel that's when I became crazy. It's because they were drunk, and I was like, well, why am I nervous to talk to this person in front of this at my bar? Like they're fucked up. They're not gonna know. They're
Yeah,
not gonna. And I would. That's what got me comfortable. That's what broke me out of my shell to be able to talk to people, was being a bartender. And it was nerve wracking because I've always had this idea in my head, like, wow, I want to be in the club and I want to be a bartender and I want to be cool and stuff like that. And when I finally did it, I was like, dang, I was like, I actually have to talk to people. You know what I mean? Like, I was like, oh shit. Like, and then the first week, I didn't make no money. I probably made, like, 3 or 4, maybe like $60. When I
yeah.
started talking, it went, and I'm like, this is easy. They're fucked
Yeah.
up. They don't even know what I'm talking about. You know what I mean? But I have real
It's just that
genuine.
attention. Like, hey, I got a friend real quick. Yeah,
Mm-hmm. And a lot of times I learned a lot of life lessons, with my clients at the bar. Like I said, shout out, maybe if they missed in the beginning, shout out to Miles, my customer at the bar, drink his Miller Lite every Thursday. He's the one that told me about a storage unit, signing a business out of there. Like if I would have not spoken to him, you know, I don't think I would
yeah.
be
It would
where
have
I'm
been
at.
a different story, maybe. Yeah,
Yeah. If I was just like, what do you want to drink? A Miller Lite, be able to walk away. But I was like, he comes in here every Thursday. Let me see what this guy does. You know what I mean? And I started talking to him. And then I started noticing he come every Thursday, same time, same drink, And then we started talking. He's, oh, you're in school. I always have my laptop behind the bar, doing my homework. And he would just always talk to me, super cool guy. And yeah, he's the one that told me, you should go get a storage unit. And that's how it started, you know? But
that's
yeah,
that is.
crazy,
Hey,
crazy.
everybody in the chat, thanks for coming in. Steve, take it easy. Mahalo for stopping by. Aloha, as always. And Steve, because you're in Oahu, if you need a haircut, and they give
Yeah,
good haircuts, I'll tell you that. Like their fades, like I'm like, man, I would rather go to them because sometimes I go with my caveman shaped head and is like all chueco and stuff, like crooked. And I'm like, what are y'all doing? But
uh-huh.
I look at your Instagram photos and the people that you have, they're legit like artists
Yeah,
at what they do. So, Steve, even if you don't need a haircut and you're letting your hair grow out like mine, anybody else in Oahu or relatives there, spread the word about Dominic
uh-huh.
Pro Ridge Mall. He does have a good crew from what I see. They are fun, and
Yeah,
you wouldn't expect somebody as young as Dominic to have a place like that, and it's just
yeah,
inspiring. And that's why do my best to bring in friends and people that to me can relate to like the hustle of reselling, but in their own way. Like you
hmm,
create your own story, and you're just starting. Like you're super young,
yeah,
and it's like it's cool. And I'm 40 years old, and
yeah,
I look at what people do, and I'm just like it keeps me driven with what I want to do as well. And yeah, if y'all got any questions about t-shirts and stuff like that, clothing
yeah,
brands, something specific, feel free to ask Dominic. I just want to share
yeah,
his story, and that's why I invited him on, and I'm glad he was able to make it and say yes.
yeah, yeah, for sure.
What's up, Paul?
Yeah.
I do need a haircut. All right, there you go, man. Just reach out. I do have Dominic's information too. I
Yeah.
know I was talking to him on the DMs, and you are gonna start maybe getting into YouTube too, right? And have somebody you're probably gonna
Yes.
work with.
Yes, I do. I do have a dope filmer right now. So there's just so much that I do, like you were saying, and I don't really document it. I just kind of take a picture and keep it going. But it's a lot easier for me to have somebody film for me and edit. So I'm gonna start because I feel like the more my journey has been going on, a lot of people are interested like in the behind the scenes stuff, the business standpoint, the marketing, just pretty much anything that goes into a business. And like I said, you said I'm young, you know what I mean? And I do things a lot differently than what a lot of people do nowadays, the way they market and sell themselves. But I mean, I've had a lot of people ask, about a marketing handbook or something like that. I'm like, I don't even know what to charge you, honestly. Like, I give free game all the time. I don't mind sharing, anything because I feel like it ultimately comes down to the person. So I could tell you what to do or how to do it, and it's up to you if you're going to make it happen.
Yeah.
So
When I got to see, I think I was about a year in Wahiwa and visited you often. And
uh,
from what I saw, it was nothing out of the ordinary. It was just
yeah,
you did what you said, and it wasn't
yeah,
like it was as simple as that. You just worked at it, and it wasn't.
yeah,
I wish. You just worked, and that's something like even at my age, like I said, like it's cool to remind yourself like there's people that aren't just talking about stuff, they're doing stuff and they're having something to show for. And that's one thing my
mhm,
wife has told me from the beginning when we started our clothing brand and even reselling. She's like, you need to have something to show for. And after a while, I was
mhm,
like, okay, I need to save more. I want to have
yeah,
more. And I don't need to have to show more like toys and collections. Is like
mhm,
my bank account needs to be straight. My wife needs to be
yeah,
straight. And like she has a great job. She's a nurse and my mother-in-law's retired. I made sure she got her own room downstairs when we moved into this place. But I went from like out in Hawaii when I got out, I went from like barely making $400 every 2 weeks when my rent was like 600, and
uh-huh,
now I'm like in a 5 bedroom house.
yeah,
Like I'm not worried about money. Like I could,
mhm,
if I wanted to make the bottom dollar off of reselling and not have to worry about bills, I just need to make
mhm,
$400 a month. That's all
mhm.
I need to make. But I wouldn't
Mm,
have
yeah,
anything to spend, and that'll
yeah,
cover
yeah,
all
yeah,
my bills. But I
yeah,
don't want to live that way. I don't want to live paycheck to
yeah,
paycheck, in a way.
yeah,
Like, but
yeah,
for the most part, I'm good. I just want to live better
yes,
like I have been and
yeah,
just keep doing like things like this.
yeah,
Like it's cool having friends and bringing them on. And one of the other
yeah,
guys I'm going to bring on next time, his name is Renee, who I got to work with as armed security. He's also a military combat veteran like myself. He's a Marine, and he has two things going on for himself. And he's one like his family came down, I think from
uh-huh,
California too, and
oh, dope,
he couldn't make it. So he's like, "Can we postpone it?" And it was just like,
uh-huh,
regardless, like whenever you have the free time, like yourself,
yeah,
I couldn't do Monday because I had the ACM awards I went to, and that was pretty cool. My
uh-huh,
wife surprised me with those tickets, and I was like, "Sorry, Dominic, like, can we
yeah,
change the day?"
yeah,
And
no, that is cool. That Monday was crazy, and even right now I have soccer practice. I coach soccer too, my goddaughter's soccer team and my nephew.
nice.
So that, but I was like, well, the other coach can take over for today. I can make time for this. You know what I mean? I can, make it happen. So always good people. You're good people and stuff like that. So, well, definitely, I like to share my story because I think a lot of people don't know. They just see the Instagram. They just see the boom. And I'm like, so it's years in the making. I'm 10 years in almost. Box it basically
Yeah,
like 10 years. You
yeah.
know.
Dom, what's your best advice for barbers, service industry workers to keep people coming back?
Coming back, yeah. To keep coming back, you want to keep coming back to you as for sure. I would just say my ultimate thing is just engage with them and know who's in your chair. You know, just really get to know that person. Whether the first haircut. I've heard like a lot of barbers. You know what I mean? Actually, my master barber AJ, he used to say like, don't ever give him the best haircut the first time. Don't. And you think about it, you're like, well, that's fucked up. He's not saying to give him a fucked up haircut. He's just
Yeah,
saying, you're just not going to be perfect the first time. So it's like that
because you're figuring
initial
them.
service.
Yeah,
you're figuring them out, you know what I mean? And so it's kind of like ultimately my thing is just engage and know who's in your chair, you know. And sometimes the customer, like, it's about them ultimately, you know. They don't want to hear about what the hell you got going on at home. They're here to come tell us what they got going on at home, you know. So ultimately just, you know, just engage and know who's in your chair or who's in your, you know, or on your table, you know, who know who that person is, you
Yeah.
know. It's really
I
engaged.
remember one of my worst haircuts was there in, I think, Pearl City. There's like by Long's. There's a little barber shop there by the road,
I used
and
to go there.
there was this guy. He was really good, right? He was really good, but he was cocky too. And
Uh-huh.
there was another barber. There was mostly women, but for the longest time, it was this one guy. I forget his name now. And then a new barber came in, another guy, and the guy next to us was giving somebody a fro hawk. And
Uh-huh.
my barber was like, "Oh, like I could do that. You want a fro hawk?" And I'm like, "No, I don't want a fro hawk. Just give me my normal haircut." And I just felt like
Okay.
the clippers going up a little higher, and I'm like, "This motherfucker, like it's already too
Fucking
late." And
yeah.
I'm like, I looked in the mirror, like I stopped him, and I turned around. And I'm like, "You giving me a fro hawk?" He was like, "Yeah, it's gonna look good." And I was like, "That's not what I wanted." I never
Come
went to him again.
back.
And my head's so messed up, like it's like a kicked potato, like it's a caveman Neanderthal head, and it was like a little bit of hair right here, and I'm just like, man, never again.
Yeah.
That's one thing that
It's
throws me off from barbers is like if I tell you a
yeah.
low cut, like
Uh-huh.
I'm really wanting you to watch, and I made sure after that incident was to tell people like my head's not perfect, like this
Yeah.
side goes a little higher. You need to know yourself too, and that's one thing as a
Yeah.
customer. When it comes to hair, you really need to be open with your barber or male or
Yeah.
female. It doesn't matter, just so they know. And if they're not getting you, be like, nope,
No,
somebody
yeah.
else.
And
Or go
yeah,
somewhere else.
and yeah, and that's the thing, you know, I tell them like, you know, you're like at the barber or stylist or any of the service professional, like you're the professional. The customer, they don't know exactly, sometimes they don't know exactly what they want, and that's fine. You know, it's your job as a service provider to, you know, make give them, sometimes like I said, they don't know what they want, so you have to give them what they want, but you kind
Mhm.
of got to fish for it. You know what I mean? They say,
Yeah.
"Hey, I normally get this." So you should be like, "Hey, next time, you know, or you want to try it right now, I think this will look better for you." And 9 times out of 10, they're going to trust you because you're the professional. You're the one,
Eh,
you're the bird's eye view. You're seeing
yeah.
it. They don't know what the back of their head looks like. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? You're the one that's seen that. So I tell, you
I
know,
mean,
so
I do.
you
I'm
gotta,
super
you know,
self-conscious.
oh yeah, oh, you
I
holding
look
the
in the
mirror?
mirror, the medicine cabinet's open, like I'm looking everywhere. But
Yeah,
what was I gonna
yeah,
say? Steve said he does need a haircut. His family's coming down. Gotta
yeah.
get him looking good. But
Pull up.
yeah,
Well,
that's funny because
definitely.
a lot of people don't know, and they're just what I found you saying that is that people don't know what they want, and it reminded me of t-shirts. And I know you
Yeah,
had this incident many times because I was there to witness it, and
yeah,
I've had my own experiences on it. Is when people say with t-shirts, like I just want something cool, and it was like what's cool to
yeah.
you is not cool to them, And it's
Yeah,
like I learn through these things is to ask them like, I know you said you can't draw, but can you give me a placement like a square here, a circle here? Tell me what this is. Tell me what this is. Do you have a picture, or
hmm,
something to help me do my magic? Like you can't
yeah,
just say like I just want a four-leaf clover, like it's
yeah,
more to it than that. And those are usually the hardest until you
yeah,
teach them, and then the second time they're like, "Oh, I learned a lot." Whether
yeah.
they go back to you or not, they know how to approach somebody else.
Parts of it. Yeah, and that's I printed shirts for people that I was like, "What the hell is this?" You know, and I gave them my opinion on it, and I was like, "Maybe you should try this and that," but that's my only opinion. If you like it the way it is, and you think it's great, I'll go ahead and do it for you. And I made them sign saying, you know, they agreed to this design because I'm like, somebody they're gonna pick it up, they're gonna show it to somebody, they're gonna be like, "What the hell is that?" You know what I mean? But I'm like, you said this is what you wanted. You know what I mean? So I make them sign, you know, so I know that. But yeah, sometimes you gotta give them what they want. You know what I mean? But after they get it, they're like, "That's not what I wanted. He was right. Maybe I should have done it like this," or you know, stuff like that. So
Yeah, yeah, Gary, this is true. Word of mouth goes a long way, especially with those who are closest to you. And if it's not good, they're gonna talk shit. And it's not just gonna be
yeah,
about your haircut. It goes back to the person you got it from and the company. I've always heard the two most important people to a woman or a man is their mom. And dad's next, and then the person that cuts their hair. They tell everything those three people. Yeah, that's the gossip train right there. That's where it
yes.
starts off. And
Oh God. That's very true. We hear it all. We've seen baby mama drama coming in, one leaving. We see it all. You know, we hear it all, we see it all. But you know, the barbers, the stylists, anybody that works in the shop, they know that that's a relationship that you build with your client, and whatever they tell you is, you know, you keep that to yourself. You know.
Yeah, Steve,
Yeah.
your work does speak for yourself, and it speaks tremendously, especially when it comes to clothing or business. It's not just there. It doesn't stop with that person because if you don't like it, they're gonna say it. And with the way social media is now, with Yelp and reviews and comments, like last thing you want to do is get a negative comment on, say, Instagram, and you delete it, and they're like, "Look, they
Oh,
deleted it." That's
yeah.
even worse.
Yeah, then they start going in and shit. Yeah, that's
You
crazy.
just leave
Oh,
it,
but actually,
leave
this
it,
guy,
and
this guy, the plumber, he's a plumber. Actually, may need him for some work. Actually,
there you
so
go,
do you have
Steve.
his
That's what I
contact
do.
info? You have his stuff? You
He's in
have
Evo.
his? Oh, he's
I'll get
never.
it to
Oh,
you.
okay.
I'll
Okay,
reach
yeah.
out to
Send it.
Steve. I don't have it,
Yeah.
but I'll get it for.
Okay, yeah, for sure. Send that to me. I actually have some. I actually have. I have a plumber that I've used before, super great and everything like that. But I've always liked to try different people, especially if they show love and support, stuff like that. And it seems like, you know, he's one of your good people, so I'll definitely give him a try. You know, I mean, it's a real simple job. Well, I think it's simple, but when he goes in, he may be like, it ain't as simple as I think. But I'll let him. You know, he's an expert, so he can kind of
You
he can tell me what is up. You know.
remember when we started the clothing and people were like try to link you up and they're like, "Hey, I'm going to charge you for a finder's fee."
Uh-huh. Oh
That's
yeah.
what that's what
Yeah.
this reminds me of when you're like, "Oh, you got a friend?" It was like, "Yeah, but I got to charge you." Like people were so funny back then.
Yeah.
You know, I'm
Yeah,
pretty
it's
sure
like,
people do that now, but it was funny back then.
man,
Everybody's
yeah,
trying to get
yeah,
money
it's like,
somehow.
yeah, man, you fucking up the game like that. Like you're fucking it up. Like, you know, they don't know. I don't know. This new school, I feel like I'm old. I'm not even old, but I feel like this new marketing, the way they do shit, or like the way they, you know, it's like nobody wants to do the actual work, you know, and then they wonder how they get outworked. You know what I mean? I'm like, if the internet was shut down today, how many people are still going to be able to make money? How many people are still going to, you know, to be able to do it? Like a lot of them, their shit's done. You know, when Instagram down for what is it, like 24 hours, people were losing their mind. Lot of people that make money on there, they lost a lot of money that day. They're probably scared. I was shipping out for a little bit too, but I'm like, got my shop down the road. They're still gonna pull up. You know what I mean? But it's hard. It's crazy. You know, the
Gary,
marketing
that's
and the
funny.
making money on the internet. You know, all cracks.
Gary's
But
Gary's talking to Steve. There's a plumber here that has a card that says, "I'll fix all cracks," but with two T's, won't show you mine.
oh yeah. Oh shit, that's a good one. Dope. See,
Yeah,
that's
he's
good
out in
marketing
Eva.
right there.
He
I
lives
would
out in
remember that for
McCully.
sure.
Yeah.
That's a good marketing.
Yeah. Yes, Steve. I'll. Are you on Instagram, Steve? If not, I need to link you up, especially if Dom has some
Mhm.
work. That's how it works
Yeah,
out.
yeah.
Yeah. So family and all. I know in the beginning when you started, like even till this day, like I see some of your posts, and I remember the
Uh-huh.
Louis Vuitton bag. That was like your trophy, and you'd be like, "I
Oh, it
worked for this.
was.
Like I never asked for
Uh-huh.
this. Like, hey, mom, dad, can I get this?" You're like, "Yo, I bought this myself," and
Yeah,
I think at the time you're like, I'm 21 and I have this and that. And it wasn't to brag.
it
Like I
was.
didn't see it
Yeah,
as bragging. I just saw it like, hey, you're getting yours your way. Like you are
yeah,
working for this and you're grinding. And I think
yeah.
people
That was the
sometimes
hood
look at stuff
trophy.
like that. They look at it and they're like,
Y-
oh, he's bragging. I was like, nah, you really
It's
gotta.
no.
But I knew you. That was the difference compared to
Yeah,
other people, that probably
yeah,
just see a hashtag, they follow it, or somebody's giving
yeah.
you a shout out. You're like,
It's
who is
crazy
this
because a lot of that is, yeah. I tell them like, this is for me. You know what I mean? And my parents, you know, they didn't have. I tell people like, they didn't. My parents didn't have much, but they made sure that we had everything. You know, and
guy?
till this day, like my parents never bought designer. They never wore designer. They never drove high end cars. They never did any of that. I did that for them. I bought my mom her first like Louis Vuitton. I bought her first this. I gave my dad his first that. You know what I mean? And it's something that I wanted to do for them. You know, it's not. They always say you don't owe me anything. I'm your parent. You know what I mean? I was like, yeah, but I know the sacrifices that they made. You know, they didn't. Like I said, we didn't have we didn't have everything. We didn't have much, but they made sure we weren't. We were with what we weren't without. So, yeah, that's one of those things that when I post things, a lot of stuff that I'm learning to not post certain things only because I feel like I don't want to, almost like I really don't care what people think, but I don't want to give them uh how do you say, the wrong image, as if I'm
Mm,
doing this stuff for that. Like, oh, I'm doing
yeah,
this so I can go buy a new Louis Vuitton bag, or I'm doing this because I want this. Honestly, it's not, because for me, that's checkpoints in my life. Like when I buy a new bag or designer piece or something, I remember what I did to get to buy that. It's for
yeah.
me. And if my cousins or somebody would come to my house right now and be like, "Oh, I like your bag," or "I like those shoes," I'm like, "Oh, you can have them." They're like, "What?" And I'm
I
like,
gotta go
"Yeah,
visit
go
you
ahead."
next time.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. No.
I like
No.
that.
Everybody
I like that.
yeah.
I like
But
that.
it's one of those things. So like example, like when I say like one of my cousins or something, like, "Oh, I like these shoes," and I know they like these pair of shoes, or I've seen them post about it before, and if I have them, and I'm like, "You want them? Here you go." It's one of those things because I want them to know, what it like I said, I didn't have those luxuries growing up, right?
Yeah,
So places like that, it keeps me grounded. And like I said, if somebody likes it, and I know, maybe they're going through a hard time, or maybe they just broke up, or something with their family, or da 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 da, and you giving them, something like that, a simple pair of shoes, or you know what I mean, a little designer piece or whatever it is,
mm,
you know what I mean? I feel like that, keeps people going, because I'm that type of person. Like I've always been the giver,
yeah. I
I
tell
very
you about
recite.
that myself too. Yeah,
I
I've
don't
always
I don't like to receive gifts. I'm like, don't give it to me, go return it. I'm not gonna open it. Like I don't want it. I've always been like that because I don't really care for stuff like that. But
yeah.
um, I've always been that way. Like you buy me a freaking bottle of water, I'll be so happy. Like what I mean? I'm like, I
Just
don't
if it
even
could be cold.
care. Yeah, or like a bag of M&Ms. Oh, my, thank yous. You know what I mean? I
Peanuts or
needed
no
this.
peanuts?
Yeah. Which one? What you say?
Peanuts or no peanuts?
The peanut ones, the yellow ones. Yeah,
Yeah. There
that's
you
my
go.
yeah,
Joe
yeah.
Deals. Joe Deals was one yesterday was talking about it in a live chat about a clothing brand. And I was telling him like, hey, you should stop by today's live because I have
Uh-huh.
somebody, which is you, about t-shirts and stuff. Sold it myself. Like I could answer most questions, but Dominic has the proof and continues to show like what he's done from a storage unit to a storefront to and not the best area, decent place, and then now
Hmm.
also has a salon to go with it and other things that he's working on. And it's just cool. Like with now that you've had the experience, say t-shirts, right? And
Hmm.
you spent all the money that you did, and you earned every cent of it. What would you say for somebody that wants to start out and printing t-shirts? Like, what's the minimum startup cost that somebody could make something work to scale from there?
So the minimum cost, well, I don't see me what see because like I said, I didn't do much research and development when I first started, but I started off with about 15,000 because the press itself, I had a four station, four color press, and the freight to get it shipped here and everything was about, I think it was like 8,000 something, but then the freight was like $1,000 or $2,000. So I started off with about, let's just say, like, say 15,000, or actually I
Mm,
think it was like 10,000. I had to hustle the rest. I think it was about 10,000 I started with, and it's one of those, I just kind of worked at it and built the brand. I know some people, like you say, 10,000 is a lot of money, because I mean, I'm not 10,000 is a lot of money to start up,
mhm.
but what people don't tell you, I'll tell you. Um, but a lot of times, if you have pretty good credit, if you have a decent credit, uh, instead of going to, I've never taken out a business loan ever in my life, ever. And people are like, huh? And I'm like, I've never took a business loan. When you take a business loan out, they want to know, they want some type of write up, right? They want to see how much you're going to spend or what you're going to bring. It's like this big old thing, all this stuff that they want. It's like, I don't know how much I'm gonna make. I don't know how much I'm gonna sell it. You know what I mean? I don't know any of this figures. I'm just trying to get this money real quick and I'm gonna go flip it. So what you do, if you have a decent amount of credit, this is what I've done after. You get a credit card, and it can be a personal credit card. It doesn't have to be a business credit card. You don't have no you don't you have personal credit card. If you find a good accountant later, and they'll flip it for you. They'll tell you how to do it, like the tax part or whatever. So you get a good credit card, and you should get something with the miles, you know what I mean, or something, you know, that you get some type of points with, you know, and use
Yeah.
that credit card for your business startup, you know. And I didn't do that. I had the 10,000 cash. I was bartending, right? But when I made that initial jump from bartending to full time printing and doing my clothing, my store, I was using the money that I was making from cash sales because you can't pay your rent with a credit card, you know. So I was using the cash that I was making like that to pay the rent. Everything else, I was using a credit card, and my limit at the time was 10,000. My limit for the credit card was 10,000. So if you have a good credit card, you know what I mean, or apply for a credit card, just do a personal one. You don't, you know, you gotta do a business, and then they're gonna ask you all the million of questions and all this stuff. Nobody got time. I mean, some people got time. I don't do that much research when I do my thing. I just kind of wing it. You know what I mean? Because I know I'm gonna make it.
Mhm.
I'm gonna make it work. If I fail, it's because of me. So I'm gonna make it work.
Yeah.
So get a credit card and go buy your machine or your initial startup, your equipment, you know, or you know whatever you want to do, or use the bank's money. You know, you don't got to use your own money. Use the bank's money. And if you can, and you can put that, you know, it's like payments, right? So your minimum, you say you spend 3,000 minimum for your credit card, depending on how much your interest is, whatever, would be like $300-400 payment. So now it can help you accumulate and you know make money. And worst case scenario, you max that shit out, boom, you can't use no more. Okay, now you're stuck paying interest on it, but at least you had a good head start. You know what I mean? At least you have some money and you know, like, hey, I got 3 months. I need to make this, you know, I have to figure it out. And that's the way you do it,
Yeah.
you
After
know?
all this time, like we had a credit card. I remember when I
Uh-huh.
started the clothing brand, I think 7,000 was like
Yeah,
easy,
that's
like
good.
gone. And I'm like, man,
Oh
I gotta
yeah.
push these shirts, you know? And it
Uh-huh.
was like I didn't know that the person that I was getting shirts through was up pricing me and going through somebody else. Not until one
Oh,
of the Art and Flea events, somebody was walking by and he like looks and he like gives a double look and he like holds it up. He was like, "Oh, did you get these from J. Paul?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he was like, "Oh, we printed these." And it just
oh
like
wow.
it wasn't bad. Like it's a
Yeah,
business.
yeah,
They
yeah,
don't need
yeah,
to tell
yeah.
you their business stuff. But I was just like, "Oh,
You
okay."
gotta get,
Like
yeah.
that's
Skip
why
the
it
middleman.
costs so much. But I didn't know any better. I thought that was the going price. Like I didn't know
Yeah.
nothing about clothing. I just had an idea and I'm like, I'm gonna do it. And I mean, I made it work for as long as I could until our place got broken into. Then that's a
Uh-huh.
different story. But it just made me hungry to like figuring stuff out. And when shit
Yeah.
hits the fan, like you really do have to figure it out. And me
Yeah.
being now a husband, right? I was
Uh-huh.
like, I don't want to ask for handouts. I
Yeah.
don't want like, hey, can you help me, mom and dad? Like
Yeah.
those years were gone. I was trying to get out of
Yeah.
that. And that's what got me into reselling because my wife brought it up and I've been doing good since. Like I make
Uh-huh.
pretty good money to where now I'm a full-time reseller. I've been doing this now. I think it's gonna 7 months. I think I just started 7 months. So it's good. I have a lot more freedom, and that's not always a good thing because I tend to slack a lot. Now it's like, I'll do it later. I'll
Yeah,
do it
yeah,
tomorrow.
yeah.
It's like,
Uh-huh.
oh man, I can't do that. But when now that you got people actually under you and you're doing these paychecks, that's different than what you were from t-shirts. You know,
Yeah,
when you did
yeah.
it, were you still just figuring it out, or did you go to somebody like, hey, how do you do this? Did you have any role models in
Uh-huh.
that case?
No, so how I figured all that out, it's crazy. I winged it. It's crazy. When I first opened my barbershop and salon, I didn't even have a payroll company or anything like that until like a week and a half, like a week into opening the shop. Because I'm like, wait, they get
Because you
paid every two
needed it,
weeks, right?
right?
Yeah, I'm like, people get paid every 2 weeks, right? So I'm telling you, I wing it. I'm just like, I'm gonna figure it out, you know. That's the way I am. And so, one of my uncles, he owns a Mexican
Wing it.
restaurant, and so I asked him like, hey, who does your payroll? And he's like, oh, this company called ADP. And I was like, okay, you have their number? And he's like, yeah, go call them. Then I found out there's some big nationwide company and everything. They have people out here in Hawaii. They have them everywhere. Super good payroll company. I want to say they're like the best. I have no complaints, you know, with them. They're awesome. So I called them and I'm like, oh yeah, I pay, you know, commission and da 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 da. They do all the taxes for you. They send it to the IRS, to the state, you know, they do all of that. So ADP is a super dope company um, for payroll, and they're everywhere, you know, and they have
Yeah.
like you know reps everywhere, and you know, they just kind of helped me with that tax part because I was like, I don't know what the hell I was doing. I never had a real employee. You know, I've always been people like under the table and stuff
Yeah,
like
you
that.
weren't paying them. You weren't paying
Yeah,
people. Like,
yeah. So
I'm
it's
a pimp. I don't
crazy,
pay
you
people.
know.
They pay me.
Yeah, 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 yeah,
So Lila, thanks for coming in.
yeah.
Yeah. I'm a clown,
That's
man. I've
crazy.
always been a clown. I just been enjoying myself a lot more doing this and bringing people on, sharing their stories. And again, man, I'm glad you came by, and I do want to
Yeah.
catch up later on, like see how things are going and reintroduce you to people. And I just
Hmm.
like people, man. I like
Yeah.
that from where I came from and how I came from. Like the struggle is real, and then when you get
Yeah.
out of it, you just want to see people succeed.
Hmm.
At least for me, like I'm not somebody like, if I'm doing bad, I want you to do bad. I'm like, if I'm
Yeah.
doing bad and you're doing good, good. Let me be the one that sucks and you
Yeah.
be the one that succeeds. That's just the way I
Yes.
roll. Like
Me
I think it's
too.
cursed, but it's how
Me
it
too. I
is.
always like to see other people win. Me, I'm like, oh, don't worry about me. I'm not, I don't, you know what I mean? I rather see other people win too. And I always, you know, show love to everybody, you know, and I know everybody has their own journey, and, you know, if the struggle is real, you know, it's still alive and well. I tell people, you get this far. I got this far. I didn't get this far to come this far. I have so much more work to do. I know there's more to my journey, you know, I have more to my journey than what I'm doing now.
Mhm.
And I feel like it's never ending. You know, I talk to my dad, you know, sometimes, and I tell him like, when is this gonna end, Dad? Like, when am I gonna like be feel accomplished? When I'm, you know, because I beat myself up. I feel like I'm my worst critic. I've always felt like I could be doing
Yeah.
more, you know, and I'm like, I could be doing this, I could be doing that. And my parents and you know, my family, they're like, you're doing great. Why do you feel like that? I'm like, I don't know. I just know I could be doing more. Like, I know what I'm capable of doing, you know, and it's never ending. You know, you have really, really good months, and then you have really shitty months, and it just goes like this, up and down,
Yeah.
and it's never gonna stop. It's never. You know, my dad's like, it's never gonna stop,
That's
Dominic, and I'm
anybody in
like,
what
ugh, you
that
know,
that's everybody in what they want to do, especially when you're trying. You feel those waves, those roller coasters a lot more than people who aren't and don't care,
yeah,
because you don't want to fail, but at the same
yeah,
time it's like you get tired and you just want to, like, you wanted it in, but then you don't,
no,
like,
yeah,
I hope this live really, like, you get to reflect on it and be like, man, I did come from the storage unit and I did this, and I made it work,
yeah,
and you brought people with you, and you continue to, not be by yourself and have
yeah.
the right people around you, I would say.
Yeah, no, that's dope. Because I actually, when you messaged me, like, you know, about doing this, and I'm like, damn, I really did have a crazy journey. People don't really know that part of my journey. You know what I mean? Um, it's crazy, you know. And to see where I've came now, I'm like, you know, in the next month or by the next month or two, you're gonna see something that we've been working on as a shop.
Mhm.
Um, it's something real crazy, and it's one of those things where I'm like, dang, I never would have thought I would be in this position to do, or even, you know. And like I said, a lot of the success for my business comes from, you know, actually this whole shop success. So it comes from the people that I have working in my shop, you know, my squad. They may not look like they're working, you know. Like I say, people, like, they look on their
Now
Instagram, they're
they
like, oh,
look,
they have fun, they do this,
yeah,
they do that. I'm like,
there's a lot of advertisement of the fun, but at the same time, it's like
yeah,
that's what's different than, I would say, yours compared to other people that I see that they're barbers. And I have some friends that I've met here that are really good barbers, but I don't go to them
uh-huh,
because I'm letting my hair grow out.
yeah,
But theirs is always like straight up, this is the haircut I gave. And it was like, yeah, it's a solid haircut. Like, but
yeah,
I want to know more about you. That's when I follow somebody, I'm invested. Like,
yeah,
I'm nosy. I wanna know everything. I'm not gonna talk
yeah,
chismes about you. I'm gonna talk good. But it's
good,
just
yeah,
like
yeah,
there has to be more to you than like me being a
and
reseller. People say,
yeah,
oh, you're a reseller, or you just have a salon. No,
yeah,
it's not
yeah.
just
It's
just.
not
It's
just,
like there's more,
yes.
a lot
Yeah,
more.
and that's what I like to show people too. It's like, you know, we are real people, you know, um we do a lot more things than just hair, and it's that ultimately it's a lifestyle, and it's one of those things I tell people, like, this lifestyle isn't for everybody, and that's okay, because this life is for us. You know, the people that work in my shop, um it's like maybe the loca, you know, it's crazy, you know, but everybody loves what they do. And if you don't want to be in the spotlight, or if you don't want all this stuff, then we're not the right shop for you, because it's like not only do we do, they do amazing hair, nails, all that stuff. It's like they're actually a super cool, genuine people that have a story to tell. And I feel like that's how we have a lot of our clients. A lot of our clients, they're super attached to us. They keep coming back every 2 weeks, and it's because we're personable. We want to know who our customer is. We do engage with them. We are real people. We do have bad days. We do have good days. You know what I mean? Sometimes we don't feel like ourselves, and we got a million things going on at home. But when you walk through that door, it's like, boom, we're here to work. And it come, like I said, everybody in the shop, they do their thing, and the ones that stay down, what I mean, and all this stuff is like, it's been a crazy, crazy journey, and that's why I'm super excited to go to LA in June 5th. I want to, I'm not going to take the whole shop, obviously, because
What event is
there's a
that?
lot
Because
of
you said
us.
it was something going on. What is that?
Yeah, it's like so originally it was called the West Coast Barber Expo, but now it's called the West Coast. What's it called? The West Coast something con. Not Beauty Con. Um, Urban Con, something like that, like an Urban Con. So it has like barbers, hairstylists, tattoo artists, models, lowriders, all kinds of stuff. So it's kind of like a showcase. And they have different, like, you're gonna have like barber battles and all that stuff. But I really want to show and take the squad to kind of see LA, you know. Super fun. I love it. My family's there, it's always a
Yeah.
good time. But I just kind of want to show them the platform that is a lot more out there than than in Hawaii. But it's like Hawaii is
Mm.
such a good market too. It's like it's just crazy the market, you know what I mean, how it is out here, but you just have to find that right niche, and that right type of clientele that you want to attract and stuff like that. And we found our demographic for sure,
Mm.
and so taking them to LA would be something that, kind of broaden their outlook, because I'm still planning to open a shop in LA on Melrose, actually in Hollywood. But the whole COVID thing happened and the mask mandate was on. Now it's all lifted. So I'm like,
Mm.
once you make a few plays, that one will set in motion, you know. And but yeah, I just want to really show them, there's a lot more
Yeah,
out there,
I hope you really start working with the guy that you're talking to me about on the DMs about documenting,
Yeah,
like what is it you're doing, because it's not just work, it's fun too, and
yeah,
you've made it to where it's not just, hey, I'm the boss, go do
uh-huh.
this, go do that.
Yeah,
It's like you could tell, and it's good to have it's
yeah,
good to see what you're doing, and it's
uh-huh.
different than what other people are showing. They may be the same way, they're just not
Yeah,
showing that, and
yes, yeah.
I
No,
really hope you
I
start doing
like.
video.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I just, like I said, I like to have fun, have a good time, as long as everybody's happy, everybody's living, everybody's making money, you know what I mean, and we're getting through life, then it's cool, but yeah, there's a lot of stuff I want to do, it's just, it's like you said, ultimately finding the right people, the right team, and stuff like that. And right now, one that I have right now is super solid. Um, and so they're gonna be the ones that get to enjoy the fruits of their labor. You know what I mean? They're gonna get to really, live. It's been a struggle. It's been a journey. It's still a struggle. I still don't have it all figured out. You know, I don't. But I know it's starting. Everything is gonna make sense one day.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Well,
yes,
ladies and
sir.
gents, I don't want to share all of Dom's stuff, and that's the reason why we have these shows,
Uh-huh.
for you to follow him. I do have his information down in the description. And Dom, I'll get you Steve's information. He's out in Eva, and
Yeah.
hopefully
Perfect.
he could help you out, or he may know somebody. That's the way the INA
Yeah.
is. Somebody knows somebody who can
Hmm.
help out. Um,
Yeah.
any advice for somebody that's just wanting to work on their own business?
The my biggest advice is just start. Just start doing it. Just a lot of times you don't know where to start. I didn't know where to start. I just tell people, you just have to do it. And I tell people there's no sense of starting if you're gonna stop.
Mhm.
So if you're thinking, oh, if you're really putting in, oh, if it doesn't work out, don't say that.
You already,
They don't even
yeah,
don't
you
even
already said it.
start. You already, yeah. And you're like, oh, I have a plan B. No, plan B. It should be another plan to make plan A work.
Mm.
There's no other. You can't live like that. You cannot say, oh, I don't think I can do it because this and this and this and no. you're already giving yourself an excuse, you know. You gotta want to do it, and you gotta put your best foot forward. And it's okay to slow down, you know. It's okay, you know, but don't ever stop. You know, it's one of those
Mm.
things. Don't ever stop. 'Cause I could have gave up years ago, and I wouldn't even have what I have today. I wouldn't. The barbershop in Salon was never even a thought in my head. You know, it was nothing really until it kept going, and I'm like, I'm always having to get these hairstylists and all this stuff, you know, and like, and
It's
then you
money,
know,
especially in
yeah,
Hawaii. People like
yeah,
Vegas, the places I go to that are similar, like the urban lifestyle, legit fades. Because there's people that say they fade,
uh-huh,
and they're not the kind of fades that I would say that your place provides. And
yeah,
it's like it's not the same, but it's professionals. I would say
yes,
how they are, and
uh-huh,
there's a difference. When you go,
yeah,
you're gonna get disappointed if you try to do. I want this type of haircut, this quality fade, right?
uh-huh,
But I only want to pay like $12. Like over here in Vegas is like $30 pretty
mhm,
much now
yeah,
for a fade, and
uh-huh,
that's automatically I'm the one like shit. I only had $40, so I'm gonna tip them 10. So
uh-huh,
now it's like sooner or later it's gonna end up being higher, but you get what you pay for. But
mhm,
in Hawaii, I never saw or I never thought nobody would compare with the style haircuts that they had. Like, hey, it's Friday, I gotta look fresh for the weekend, and
yeah,
they are like adamant about it. And here in Vegas, I would go to barbers and they're like, yeah, I need a haircut for the weekend. And then I started seeing
mhm,
more as my barber would move or I would move, I would find a new person. And it was like, no, these people are the same way. They're like, hey, if you don't care about your haircut and you didn't make an appointment, you need to get out of here.
get
And
out,
I'm
yeah,
just like, damn, like these
uh,
people claim their barbers and their time and they're
yeah,
serious. It's like a sport.
yeah, it's a
And I'm like,
lifestyle, yeah,
yeah.
it's a lifestyle, yeah, it is.
I only got haircuts because of work. Work was like, you need to be presentable. And I'm like, okay. Like I showed up. A lot of people don't show up.
So yeah, at least I'm here, right? Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Well, everybody,
All
I'm
right.
gonna I'm gonna close this off. I do have, like I said, Dom's information in the description. He's out in Hawaii, clothing brand, Salon. He got a crew on him. He's gonna be out in California. So if any of you are interested, and the thing when I bring about people, and if you could take from this, um, when you know of people or you know a family that's going to go somewhere that somebody heard about, something you enjoyed, mention
Mhm.
their name. Just bring it up. Just
Yeah,
say, hey, have you checked them out? Like I saw them on Sunny's thing or whoever's channel, and and like you need a haircut, check them out. Like
mhm,
that's the way support goes to me. You may not need it
yeah,
for yourself, but somebody else may need the information or would be happy that you shared it. And I just appreciate you all for showing up. Dominic, thank you
yeah,
for saying yes to come on. Eventually, hopefully, we'll
yeah.
have you on again, and maybe
Yes,
even
for
have some
sure.
of your crew members jump in so we could
Yes,
get their voice too.
yes. I'll definitely like to introduce you to them. They're a lot of fun. Yeah, thank you. They show a lot of love. They work very hard. So come through, keep them busy. You know, we'll definitely get you guys right. But yeah, I appreciate you, Sonny.
All right, guys. All right, anybody, if there's any comments or something you didn't or we didn't answer, or you later on you're like, you know what, I actually do have a question. Go
Yeah,
back to this video and drop those comments down below. I'll catch up to them and answer them. And if they're for Dominic, I will relay the message and get back to you. It's
yeah,
always a good thing. Yeah. So
yeah. Or you can shoot me a DM. I check every single message. You know what I mean? So if it's cool stuff, professional messages, I will reply. You know. If it's-
all right, Dom, stay on here.
all
Don't
right.
click off yet. Everybody, thanks for
Okay.
coming in. Make sure to hit the like button if you haven't already and subscribe. Tell your friends about me, especially Thursdays, which I have just about every Thursday. And I am going to get back to what's old videos, thrift videos, and things like that because that's what this channel is about. But I'm more about people as well. So that's why I share people like Dominic. So I appreciate y'all for coming in.
Thank
Take it
you.
easy. I will see you again